Welcome back to another video on my journey towards querying with your girl, Laura Writes. Ding! Hey guys, hello! It has been so long since we've chatted, since I've updated you on my writing progress. I haven't really been uploading videos lately, as you, I'm sure, are aware. I've maybe posted 2 videos in the last 4 or 5 months. One on what my thoughts are about authortube dying, and another one on some tips about how to grow your authortube channel, or some tips and tricks or secrets about it. So if you haven't watched either one of those videos yet, I will link them down in the description. But as far as writing videos, writing vlogs, I haven't really posted anything. I did do a live stream last week with Kevin, and I kind of talked about it a little bit on that. So I don't know. What I wanted to do is sit down, explain to you where I've been, where I'm going, what I'm doing, what the plan is, as a part of this series that I started at the beginning of the year on my updates of my journey towards being ready to query. So let's start at the beginning. Where have I been? Well, you know, I'm still here, North Carolina. Lockdown, you know, the huge, but I haven't been here documenting my writing, mostly because I'm going to be honest, I have not been writing the last few months. So here's the deal, Sporto, okay? As you guys know, for the first couple of years that I worked on Beware of Monsters, it was a contemporary with like a little bit of like horror elements, and the book wasn't working. I tried a lot of things. I even took a year off to learn more about plot and structure by reading a lot of writing craft books and having writing craft discussions with you guys. And I came back to it realizing after everything I've learned that it's not working because it's not going to work. It's not a good book. It doesn't have quite the plot. And it was secretly a horror disguising itself as a contemporary. So I decided at the end of last year, at the end of 2020, that I was going to be shifting the book. I'm going to be rewriting it because I did have a full draft of the book, but I was going to write a new draft as a horror. And I made that decision, I want to say it was like end of November, mid-December, somewhere around there. And then at the beginning of January, I was like, okay, let's go. We're going to start plotting and writing. And then I tried to do that for about 4 months. And I just kept having a bunch of false starts where I would plot a little bit and then realize something wasn't working and come back. And then plot a little bit again and change a decision and come back. And I made that loop several times until like, I think it was April or May where I was like, okay, what's the deal, sis? Like, what's going on here? And I had to really figure out why I was getting stuck. And I think, well, and I realized that what I was doing was I didn't have the idea of the horror concept. It didn't marinate long enough for me to be ready to start working on it. So every book that I've ever written, which has only been 2, and like my future book ideas, I let them simmer in my brain on the back burner. And I pull, you know, from little things that I see or read or hear or occur to me as months go on, as I'm thinking about it. Like, for example, I have a slasher idea that I've had since sometime last year, and I just slowly over time, an idea will occur to me. Just yesterday, I got the shard of glass for that character, or not yesterday, it was a couple days ago, but I wrote it down yesterday. So it's like I slowly put the pieces in there for when I'm ready to work on it. Well, even though this book already had a version before, the horror version is completely different. It's a completely different, there are some same elements, like the town is this, like it's the same town, but I changed a lot of the town, same characters, but I changed a lot of their, you know, specifics, and it's just, the plot is completely different. And I think I felt like because I had worked on the previous version for so long, that I could just jump right in and get this going. And I realized that that's just not the case. I didn't let it marinate long enough. It was undercooked. And so I just needed some time to stop putting pressure on trying to make it work and just let it simmer and develop flavors and layers and complexity. And slowly, since from April till now, I've gotten more ideas, I've gotten subplots, I've fixed some plot holes or motivations that weren't working. And I feel in the last 5 months, got a great amount of cooking done with the idea. And I think that my story really just for me needed that. I needed replenishing of the well. I needed to take the pressure off. I needed to just let it sit and sink in. And I needed to like not be actively thinking about it so that things could occur to me because I wasn't stressing so much on it. And so that's what I've been basically doing. I did want to maybe try to work on a different project while I was letting that one simmer, but I just couldn't. I'm not a multi-project kind of person, especially because I knew there were things about the story that I still needed to work out. And I just couldn't let myself actively put my efforts into trying to work out something else when I knew this one was still needing the work. So I just gave myself permission to do what was necessary in the planning process for me. And that was just to think on it, to slowly come up with ideas that weren't forced, that weren't on a time schedule, because that's what worked for me. And that's just what I needed. All my other book ideas, like I have like 7 other book ideas that I slowly make notes on. And this was one that like I had no notes, no ideas on anything. I was just the stuff that I was extrapolating from the contemporary, which just is not the same thing. So long story short, TLDR, I took the last 5 months to think about my book. And I think that has really, really helped me. Like I said, I have really figured out a lot of stuff that was concerning for me in the beginning, and I feel much better prepared, and I have a much clearer trajectory of where the book is going, what the clear wants and desires are, and the conflict and the mystery elements and all of that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm back, because I'm back to working on my project. Another thing I realized that I was trying to do was I was trying to plot the entire book at once before drafting. And because I wasn't like fully figured out, I hadn't fully figured out everything, and I was still kind of struggling, I was getting really easily overwhelmed. And for those of you who also have any sort of like neurodivergence, especially like ADHD, you know that it's really easy to get overwhelmed when something feels like it has a lot of parts or a lot of steps. And our brain tends to make everything into a lot of steps. And so I was getting so overwhelmed by trying to figure out every single intricate thing ahead of time that it was just burning me out, and I was getting very overwhelmed. And so after talking to some of my friends, getting some ideas about how other people work on their projects, I decided to instead work on a chunk of the book at a time, meaning I would plot, and I'm a light plotter, so I do like to still have some discovery elements in the scenes. I mostly just focus on like the location, what the point of the scene is, and like what information needs to be done there, like why am I doing this scene, and then the rest of it I kind of let unravel, like the conversations, what people say, how they're acting, that kind of stuff. I just give myself a few little notes. So I decided instead to break it into chunks. So I've broken the book into 4 chunks. Instead of the 3 acts, I've broken the second act into 2 chunks. I think Save the Cat Writes a Novel does this as well. So it's Act 1, Act 2A, Act 2B, and then Act 3. And I said, okay, I'm going to outline, draft Act 1, then outline 2A, draft it, outline 2B, draft it, outline Act 3, then draft it. And that will give me my first draft. Now this draft is going to be a 0 draft. Again, where I'm developing some of that discovery writing, where I'm still kind of getting the ideas for the book, and I've given myself permission to not use any of the words in the zero draft. And by doing that, that means I don't have to worry about how it's written. I just got to get the story out. I just have to get the actions out, and I have to know where it's going, what happens, the general, and then in the revision process, I'll have something to work with, right? I have to put the clay in before I can mold it, you know, that kind of deal. So by giving myself that permission, I don't stress. Because I'm a perfectionist, I don't stress so much on how crappy it is or how telling it is or anything like that. It's literally just the first thing that occurs in my head to get that scene out. And that's what I'm doing for the zero draft. Then I'll go back, do a revision based on, you know, notes and all that, etc. We'll get to that later, whatever that freaking happens, because I have yet to get a first draft of the horror book, which I'm considering a completely new book, because it is a completely new book. It's completely different plot, characters are different, lots of things are different about it. So I'm considering this my third book. My first book being a YA speculative fiction that I wrote called Rewritten. That is shelved for now, although I've gotten some good ideas for that lately on things I could fix. And then the Beware of Monsters Contemporary, forever shelved because it did not work. And now I have Beware of Monsters, the horror that I'm currently working on. And so here is the plan that I came up with in terms of this first zero draft. Now, I have to be honest with myself about my abilities. As you guys know, I am notorious for not meeting goals. This is for a lot of reasons. 1, I have a full-time job. 2, I have a lot of mental health issues. 3, I have actual chronic illnesses. 4, I am neurodivergent. So I have a lot of things that are sometimes working against me, and I have to keep those in mind, especially because part of my neurodivergency includes time blindness, where I don't quite understand, not that I understand, but I have a misconstrued conception of how long things take, what I'm capable of doing, that kind of thing. So I wanted to give myself a more realistic goal, even though it's not ideal. Like in an ideal world, I would be done by now, but I have to try to be realistic with myself. So what I decided was in August, I said, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use August to outline and draft Act 1, September for Act 2A, October for Act 2B, and then November for Act 3, so that at the end of NaNoWriMo, I will have finished the first draft of this book. So that gave me 4 months, starting in August last month, to work on drafting and outlining to get a zero draft of this book. And I would love so much, it would be so exciting, even though you guys know I'm not a big fan of NaNoWriMo. I don't know if I'm gonna give myself any traditional goals like that. My only goal is just gonna be getting Act 3 or getting the book done. You know, ideally I'll be on Act 3 by then, but if for some reason I'm not, getting the book done. It would be so exciting at the end of NaNoWriMo to celebrate with all of you who've been watching this from the beginning, me being done with my first draft of this horror book that I am so excited about. Like, even if it never gets published, I love this book. It's the book of my heart, and I've spent so much time with it. I just need to see it through. So I know a lot of you are probably wondering, well, it's September, girl. Have you started yet? Well, you're just gonna have to wait and find out, because I have been vlogging. They're not the best vlogs, not gonna lie, in that they're not like super aesthetic and dynamic and interesting. They're really just me being like, oh my God, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I got done. You know, so if you want to make sure that you follow my progress and everything, and you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you will be able to see those vlogs and see my progress toward getting that first draft done. And so previously, all of my other vlogs have been under a playlist, a Beware of Monsters playlist. I'm gonna create a brand new playlist for this new trajectory of this book called Season 2 of Beware of Monsters, the horror edition. And I will put them all in a playlist so that I can watch from here moving forward when I really am ready and prepared to work on this book, because everything prior was either a different book or me trying to work on this book and just not being ready and having a bunch of false starts. This is my official start, where I officially started vlogging in August, and those videos will be up very soon. So we're in the editing process of those. So I am currently working on it, but I don't want to tell you where I'm at in the process because you need to watch the vlogs to find out. And like I said, those will be on a Beware of Monsters Season 2 playlist. Speaking of playlists, also this video is part of a series that I do on my journey towards being ready to query. I was originally going to do it monthly, but that was also, first of all, not realistic for me. And also putting a lot of pressure on me, and sometimes, you know. So what I'm gonna do is I will make these updates when I have stuff to update, when I have things to tell you, accomplishments, because it was getting to me if I'd have to like tell you at the end of the month, like, I didn't make that much progress, I didn't meet that goal, blah, blah. Not good for the psyche. So that's what I'm gonna do with these sort of journey towards querying videos. There will be periodic updates over time to let you know how close I am to being ready to query. So that brings me to, when do I think I will be ready to query? Because my original plan was to try to be ready by the end of this year. Clearly that's not going to happen. So my new plan is a realistic plan, and if it gets done sooner, great, perfect, wonderful. But what I'd like to do is to try to be ready to query by this time next year. So September of 2022, I would like to be ready to query. And so that gives me plenty of time for revisions, for other people to read, etc., etc. I'm also gonna try, now, who knows if I'm able to do this, but I'm considering maybe trying to submit to Author Mentor Match in early, or like late winter, early spring, depending on where I'm at in my process, if I'm ready. So that may be something that I do. But other than that, the plan is to try to be ready by September of next year to query. And I think that that is a more realistic goal, especially now that I do feel much more confident in my concept of this book. Now, as far as books that I've been reading, I originally in these videos used to also include the books I had read recently, especially the horror books that I was reading that I thought were contributing towards it. I have decided to not include that in this video, and rather just keep these videos of my progress of writing. And I actually, okay, this is just a little side note to let y'all know. As you guys know me, I love being a content creator. I actually love making videos. I do have obstacles that get in my way to being consistent all the time, but I consider this a hobby that I enjoy. This is not something I'm trying to make a living off of. It's not trying to, like, you know, any, like, okay, if I can make money doing a hobby, sure, great, wonderful. But that's not the intention. I actually genuinely love connecting with people who like what I like, and I love sharing what I love with other people. And so, as you guys probably already know, I am a toy collector. I do have a toy channel. Well, I call it my toy channel, but a collector channel where I show things that I collect. I've had a personal channel in the past that's now sort of defunct. I don't really do much on there as of right now. I do have a travel channel set up for my husband and I travel, but we haven't been able to travel lately, so there's no content up there. We thought we were going to be able to start traveling in the summer, but things went differently. And so, as you guys know, I love horror. I'm super into horror. It's a thing. And it's always been something I've been interested in, but I've really been getting into it lately. It's my hyperfixation at the current moment. So I'm thinking that I'm going to start a separate channel where I just talk about horror stuff that I like. So I'm going to talk about the horror books that I'm reading, the horror movies that I'm watching, the horror collector toys that I'm collecting, so that kind of stuff. So if you are interested in the horror books that I've been reading lately, then when I do create that channel, which is not created yet, when I do, I will let you guys know about the channel and where it's at so that you can go catch all of that there. So I'm just going to kind of separate that stuff. So yeah, so this is my update. This is where I'm at on my journey towards querying. I am at the very beginning. I'm working on my first draft of this YA horror that I've spent the first half of the year thinking about and kind of coming up with, you know, ideas and threads and all that stuff. And now I'm actively working towards actually drafting it, which has been a long time since I've been drafting and I'm a little rusty, but I'm really enjoying it. And I'm so happy to be back to sharing stuff with you guys. I just couldn't make videos before because I just didn't have much to share. Like, I was just doing the mental work for writing, you know? And so yeah, that's where I've been. And so I am excited to be active again. I'm excited to share this journey with you. I'm excited to finally be making progress again. And yeah, I missed you guys, and I hope that you missed me too. So again, if you're not already subscribed to this channel and you want to make sure that you don't miss any of my content, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video, if you like seeing me come back and make progress, then make sure to give this a thumbs up down below. It lets YouTube know that other people might actually enjoy this as well. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching and joining me on this journey and supporting me and loving me and understanding the complexity that is lore rights. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!